The story starts with the main man Makoto narrating how the average MC gets isekai, which kind of proves the omnipresence of Truck-kun being a god in the 2D land. That said, the benevolent entity wasn't the force behind Makoto's reincarnation, it was the god Tsukuyomi. Tsukuyomi explains to our boy the reason his time has come was due to his parents being from another world, so to pay for the reverse isekai fee, they had to offer something dear to them, which in this case is Makoto. Before disappearing, Tsukuyomi, being the best bro you could wish for, assures Makoto that he has gotten rid of the beloved culture collections he used to study, and given him all the powers he can give. Then our boy met the other world's goddess. She deems Makoto too ugly and banishes him to her world wasteland, infested with non-humans and monsters, giving him only the ability to understand all languages. Tsukuyomi intervenes, explaining in Japan Makoto's abilities were restricted by modern life, but in the new world he is quite powerful and free to do whatever he pleases, especially after the goddess stripped him of his hero title. Hence he has absolute freedom to pursue what he wants. Tsukuyomi then bids his boy farewell, wishing they meet again. It's been 3 days since the goddess has thrown our boy into this wasteland, and he is getting hungry. Luckily, Makoto hears the calls of a young lady. When he goes to check, he finds that she is a young orc named Emma, and ironically, her attacker is a two-headed wolf monster that doesn't seem a very calm and reasonable beast, so our boy ends it with one kick right through the chest, surprising not only the pig girl, but also the man himself. After practicing his dating sim skills, Emma explains she was supposed to be a sacrifice to the god Shen to dispel the fog around her village so crops can grow. Emma takes the young lad to her village where Makoto begins to learn magic, and as you expected, his skills are cracked a little bit. Later, the main man decides to go and seek an audience with Shen to save his new girl, and to do so he creates a sick flame bow to ring an old bell that he could hit with a simple rock from the ground. That said, his flashy call grabbed the attention of Shen, a giant dragon who goes on the attack immediately and uses fog to create illusions. Makoto uses the fire spells he just learned and manages to inflict damage on Shen, shocking the dragon considering it is immune to fire. Then our boy proceeds to clap some dragon scales. Shen then traps our boy in an illusion of happy memory, but after examining his other memories becomes intrigued by his memories of Japan. Makoto breaks the illusion with violence in his mind, but when he sees Shen laying on its back like a puppy offering to make a contract with him to become familiar, it switches moods and becomes embarrassed, and agrees to form a contract with Shen, who transforms into a busty samurai girl, looking forward to what her new master will do in the future. But in the meantime, Makoto discovers Shen is obsessed with his memories of historical dramas and samurai. She teleports Makoto to the alternate dimension where she normally lives, but finds it now resembles Japan's countryside. It seems their contract changed her old dark domain to this new peaceful green one, and due to it being massive, he gets the idea to build a city in it while also using it as a safe spot for the goddess watching eyes. Later at night, the dynamic duo returns to the orc village where they throw a feast for a peaceful future. Shen offers for the orcs to live in her dimension, which is now ideal for farming. And although the main man is not too keen on the idea, before testing the safety and limits of the land, he has no choice but to accept. Later, Shen continues watching Makoto's memories while he practices his magic, which is kinda inconvenient for him. So Shen decides to head out and look for a way to build a television so she can store his memories. While looking at his memories, Makoto decides to discover more about his parents, whom Tsukuyomi told him were born in this world before moving to Japan. He then goes out to help some orcs to cut a big tree as if it was a piece of butter. After healing one of the orcs' arms, Shen appears with an injured dwarf, explaining their dimension as being attacked by a spider called Black Disaster that is cursed with eternal hunger and consumes everything. However, what they left out of that arc of a story is that the more damage you inflict on the spider, the thirstier it gets hungry for more. So every time Makoto threw a flame attack, the kinky spider was enjoying it. Eventually, the spider managed to pierce through Makoto's defenses and body, but this is an isekai with an overpowered MC. So needless to say, he rose and started firing his spell like a machine gun and created a water bow that destroyed everything on its way. When Makoto collapses from overexertion, Shen descends to kick the thirsty spider off her master. The spider suddenly declares that the extreme violence has satisfied its masochistic hunger, and she is determined to stay with Makoto forever. Shen suggests the spider also form a contract with Makoto to gain a human form so it can stay by his side without any inconveniences, and she agrees, starting the ritual despite Makoto being unconscious. Makoto awakens and finds his wounds all healed up, as well as a new similarly busty female servant who makes him slightly nervous. Turns out he got healed with the help of Emma and his loyal samurai wannabe, but Makoto is more interested in who the frick is this hot dark lady next to him, so she introduces herself as his new servant, telling him, "I'm the spider, and this is my human form after our contract," to to which he looks very worried about, and we would too, seeing how hungry this mommy looks. Shen then arrives along with the dwarf whose name is Baron, an elder dwarf capable of crafting top-tier artifacts that can be considered sacred. Waifu number 1 suggests the dwarves move in, which Makoto accepts immediately, but then she steps in demanding in return the dwarves swear loyalty to Makoto, provide weapons, help build the city, and pay taxes in the future. Baron contemplates if the other elders will agree, so Shen hands him some of her scales, which are considered rare and great in crafting stuff. With that matter settled, Makoto heads out of the domain to look for any close human settlements, which he spots from atop the cliff. Unfortunately for him, Shen arrives and requests our boy to head back inside the domain for an urgent matter. Turns out she and the spider wanted to be given personal names. Thinking hard, Makoto renames Shen Tomoe after a famous historical lady samurai, making her very happy to the point she starts glowing. She explains that giving them names increases their powers and that certain names increase power even more, but she doesn't care about it as she wants to be given a name he fancies. Likewise, the spider wants a name he likes, so he names her Mio in Japanese, which means zero and water, Makoto's most preferred element, making her very happy. Later, Makoto discovers while he was unconscious Tomoe and Mio went recruiting and his village is now populated by orcs, dwarves, mist lizards, and alki spiders. The new residents choose to address Makoto as the young master, and they all swear loyalty to serve him. Makoto welcomes everyone and tells them they are free to do what they want and where they live as long as they don't fight each other before awkwardly leaving. He returns to the normal world and notices a Bae. When he goes to say hi, she screams in fear and runs away. Thinking she ran away because he's too horrendous to look, Makoto heads to the human village only to be attacked on sight, making him more depressed. However, back in the domain, Tomoe explains they did not fear him because of his looks, but due to his magical aura being so strong, the humans probably mistook him for a demon lord. Thus, Makoto spends months learning the human language and has the dwarves craft items to suppress his aura. Soon after, he enters the human village posing as a merchant along with his lovely harem, and they register at an adventurer's guild. While Tomoe and Mio break records by being 4 times as powerful as the next strongest adventurer, Makoto, due to his suppressed aura, ranks level 1, weaker than a child, promoting the ridicule of the other adventurers. Now resting in their room, Makoto notes the price of commodities is unusually high and that people have been following them since they entered. Hence, he leaves Tomoe behind to look after their wagon, which proved to be a wise decision as several ninjas attacked the wagon when Makoto went to buy food with Mio. On their way back, the couple gets approached by a young girl called Rinan. She tells them her sister Toa disappeared and starts crying out loud while a shady guy with nice haircut spies at them from afar. Meanwhile, Tomoe confronts the thieves. She kicks the first guy, breaking his ribs, something the other guys wished had happened to them, as she leaped behind them, cutting the dudes in half, not knowing her power limitations. Seeing this, the 4th ninja freaks out and flees, but Tomoe swaps from behind and knocks them. Now in the hotel, Rinan hands Makoto a sketch of Toa, her sister, shocking the main man. The next morning, Mio enters the young master's room after cleaning the mess Tomoe did. She notices a serious look on the outgoing, carefree Makoto's face while looking through the thief's memories, finding the location of the young girl's sister. He then asks Mio and Tomoe to retrieve her, and although Mio rejects first, she and Tomoe change their minds when they see that serious look again. Turns out the lady in the sketch resembles a girl named Hasegawa he knew in Japan. She was also the same chick Makoto saw in his happy fantasy when Tomoe put him under an illusion earlier. But enough with old memories, back to the action. Mio and Tomoe locate Toa and her captor, Mills Ace, the current strongest adventurer. Meanwhile, Rinan sneaks away and tells the thieves Makoto's wagon was full of expensive fruit, but he has already sold it. The thieves insist she steals Makoto's gold to pay Toa's debts. Makoto, having followed her earlier, notes the town needs an improvement. On the other side, Mills, the thieves' secret leader, reveals a demon lord recently approached the city and had a bounty placed on its head, so he wants Mio and Tomoe to help hunt it, not realizing the demon lord was Makoto. They continue to play along with the guy until he calls their young master ugly. Suddenly the mood changes and the girls walk up with the most murderous intent, throwing fists, which surprisingly didn't end the douche on the spot, so the ladies roll up their sleeves ready to clap some cheeks to protect the honor of their young master and the little girl who decided she can't steal from Makoto after he was so nice to her. And so the girls easily defeat Mills and his thieves while destroying the building, setting every person locked there free. However, things get out of hand when the girls run into a disagreement. Not seeing eye to eye on who did the most work, they destroyed a part of the city, competing to see who defeated the most enemies. Later, Rinan reunites with Toa, who is identical to Hasegawa apart from her hair color. With the hottie being safe and sound, Makoto praises Mio and Tomoya for rescuing Toa, but then violently blasts them back to the wasteland to repent for foolishly destroying the entire human city. So the next morning, the group venture to a new town and guild, where the party explains to the new guild master what happened there, calming a horde destroyed of monsters, something that was believable thanks to Tomoya altering everyone's memories except the girls, of course. That said, they must re-register in Shiga, the next closest town. Makoto tricks Tomoya into training alone in the wilderness while he travels to Shiga with other adventurers. On the way, the group comes across some hornets, which Mio kills easily, prompting the other members to collect their valuable drops. After re-registering in Shiga, Makoto celebrates with adventurers Louisa the elven archer, Hazel the human alchemist, and Renina the dwarf priest knight. While looking at the available missions, Makoto sees a special job that any adventurer can take regardless of rank, which is to obtain some rare ruby eyes. Considering he already has them, the main man decides to sell them to the Rembrandt Trading Company. But first, a feast is due. During dinner, Lover Boy gets warned by Toa that Rembrandt has a bad reputation and everyone who accepted jobs from the group was struck by misfortune. But before that, Makoto returns to the village in the mist and checks on everyone. He finds that all the races are working hard. While some are constructing a castle for him, the dwarves were creating some new armor for him, which he passes due to him posing as a mere merchant. However, a nice piece of clothing catches his eye, and he immediately tries it on. Impressed with the new drip and its ability to further suppress his aura, Makoto asks to have a custom-made one since his magic was too powerful and destroyed the outfit. Now back to the new human city, Makoto heads to fulfill his first quest by taking Ruby Eye to Rembrandt. The manager, Patrick Rembrandt, is dismissive upon learning the main man is ranked the lowest of the low. Well, that was until Makoto put his big balls on the table and threw the ruby eyes in the man's face, prompting him to apologize. Makoto asks why Rem wants the eyes, so he happily reveals the eyes make a cure for his wife and daughters cursed by a witch. Rem then mentions that with these he can finally take one step forward, revealing that one pair equals one healing potion. So Makoto throws in two other pairs, making the rich man and his employees jump with joy. When Makoto gets ready to head out and go register in the Merchants Guild, Rem wishes him good luck in his exam. Yup, turns out there is an exam he needs to undertake to become a certified merchant. At the Merchants Guild, a blonde lady further explains that the exam has 3 stages. Stage 1 being a written exam. Stage 2 being a practical skills exam where he has to obtain some items ranging from easy ones like empty potion items to hard ones like valuable wolf fangs. Lastly, he has to put in a deposit or pay an annual fee for a license. And if he fails to pass, he cannot reapply until a year has passed. Thus, Makoto asks for a manual, which the chick tells him costs 2 gold. To his surprise, it's just basic middle school mathematics, but in this world, it's considered the ultimate exam, or so the lady believes, which explains her utter shock when Makoto asks to have one on the spot. Needless to say, being a high school student in his previous life, the man finishes fast, or so that's what she said. When the instructor checks his answers, he gets shocked that the young man has answered them all right, so they move to the next stage. The second test is to gather 4 dangerous items within 3 days limit, which is kinda impossible and the instructor knows it, but to his luck, the masked boy takes advantage of a rule saying he can substitute items of equal value and substitutes the left ruby ants, passing the exam with ease. Meanwhile, Tomo is back in the demi-plane enjoying a crab that she defeated, but her feast is cut short when summoned to help Mio sort the young master's memories. Soon after, Makoto gets back to the demi-plane where he plans to set up a hidden portal to trick traveling merchants into thinking the demi-plane is a hidden city, where they can trade the super rare items in it safely, and then return home creating a demand for demi-plane products. He then gets a distressed message from Tomoya, so he rushes back and finds the girls are fighting over his memories and realizes Mio has become addicted to his memories of anime and children's cartoons. Later that night, Tomoya and Mio are confused when Makoto chooses to sleep alone rather than pick one of them to play hide and seek under the covers, but a virgin in life is going to stay a virgin after death. In other words, he passes the offers. The next day, Hazel meets with Makoto upon his request to help make the cure for Rem. An adventurer watches Makoto and decides to gather as many adventurers as he can to stop whatever Rembrandt is doing with Makoto. Hazel becomes stressed upon learning the job is for the influential Patrick Rembrandt, but with a little push from Makoto, he manages to keep his nerves under control till the first potion ends at least as he drops the second 2 when the butler enters the room suddenly. Luckily though, Makoto boy thinks fast and catches them. However, things are far from resolved as turns out the witch curse also included that when someone tries to cure them, the chicks will attack, hence why Rem is all bruised up. With no other option, Makoto volunteers to restrain Patrick's wife, but the rich man, not learning from his past mistake, still doubts the E-rank level 1 adventure until the clumsy alchemist steps in and tells him he is hella strong, that he was the person who killed the ruby eyes. And thus here we are with Makoto pulling a classic arm bar lock his sister used to practice on him, while Patrick successfully administers the cure to his Tasmanian devil of a wife, turning her back to normal. Using this method, they also cure Patrick's daughters. Makoto returns to Tomoe and Mio, who are eager to go and register in the guild, but they are attacked by a wizard adventurer. Although the MC dodges, the girls tank the spell head-on, embarrassing the lad and his numerous allies. After easily, and we mean easily, Tomoe defeats all enemies, just like beating a 4-year-old in a high-intensity basketball. Lime, the main person behind the ambush, claims he only wanted a sleeping curse put on Lisa and her daughters as revenge for Patrick preventing adventurers who displeased him from finding further work, many of whom later died on quests too dangerous for them to handle, and has no idea why the witch doctor cursed them into monsters. Thus later, Lime apologizes to Patrick, who decides to let him live out of respect for Makoto, and Lime retires from adventuring. Tomoe, who had seen in Lime's memories that he sends his wages to the orphanage where he grew up, gives him a katana forged by the dwarves and hires him to spy for her. Meanwhile, despite his gratitude to Makoto, Patrick considers what to do about Makoto starting a competing trading company. Returning to the demi-plane to enjoy some tasty food, Emma informs Makoto yet another problem has arisen. Turns out the warriors in Makoto's village are depressed after training, and Makoto learns it is his fault, as during training he overwhelms them so completely they lose their self-confidence. At the end, the group arranges a competition between the strongest warriors from each race, and although they duke it out as hard as they can to the point the arena gets destroyed, the gang are not impressed. Tomoe scolds everyone and tells them they will be holding a weekly competition inspiring the demi-humans to strengthen themselves and each other. Later, the trio re-register as adventurers and are immediately asked to train an adventurer to replace Lime Lati, the last top adventurer. Makoto chooses Toa and asks Tomoe to train her, though Tomoe is troubled as she knows Toa resembles the girl from Japan and worries Makoto misses his former life. Thus, Tomoe puts Toa and her team through a brutal training regime and then tests their new abilities by ordering them to defeat a nest of 108 monsters, proving them the strongest adventuring team, so moving on, Makoto doesn't worry about them. Fast forward, Makoto decides to collect ambrosia flowers, the flowers eaten by the ruby ants that make their eyes valuable. He also decides to rent shop space from Patrick, who realizes Makoto wants to rent, as buying would bring him to the attention of the Tsuga Kingdom, who would ask him to spy on Patrick, which Makoto does not want to do. Patrick agrees to arrange a shop space for Makoto in a neutral city not allied to any kingdom. The village throws a party to celebrate Makoto opening his trading company. During the party, we learn that the demi-plane is expanding, and Makoto offers from the OG Elder Dwarf to be the receptionist for his new shop. Meanwhile, Akina reveals they have located ambrosia flowers in the outside world, but decided not to harvest any as they are protected by elves. Suddenly, Mio and Tomoe sense Makoto's presence disappearing from the world. They get shocked, but then his presence reappears, and they rush to his location, which is at the archery range. Mio holds him while Tomoe explains that he had died repeatedly training. Tomoe deduces when Makoto clears his mind to focus on the target, he unintentionally merges with the environment and dies for a split second, which feels to Tomoe and Mio like he is ending his life. Incidentally, this has caused his mana to increase to goddess level. Therefore, if it continues, the goddess who banished him to the wasteland will see him as a rival and try to kill him. Soon after, Makoto returns to the human world and is approached by a beautiful lady that belongs to the streets, and just before the horny hits, the girls swoop in and drag him away. They declare they are tired of waiting for him to grow a pair and are ready to get it on by force. Makoto, reluctant to do anything since he sees them as family, panics and flees through a portal. Now back in his city, he gets approached by Emma, who notices mist on him as well as the spider web. Realizing things were frisky, she changes the subject and leaves him be, proving once again she's the best girl. The next day, the dwarves forge more powerful mana-suppressing equipment, and later Mio apologizes for her and Tomoe's behavior, so Makoto invites her to help negotiate with the elves. While strolling hand in hand, other adventurers also appear to steal a flower, one of whom is the prostitute, causing not only the elves to attack immediately, but also for Mio to have a mental breakdown after they cut her lovey-dovey time with the young master. Makoto teleports the adventurers to the demi-plane and then makes peace with the elves, Aqua and Eris, well, of course, after showing them he is way stronger than them. The girls take Makoto to meet with Nilgistori and other elders, who seem chill enough. However, Nilgistori's son, Dono, is angry the barrier protecting the forest is weakening. Add to that the fact he is suspicious of our boy after he was able to defeat two strong warriors and still claims he is just a merchant. That said, Makoto goes his way peacefully to meet Aqua's and Eris master, Mondo, a powerful warrior who kinda gives me Jiraiya-sensei vibes for some reason. Makoto tells Mio to spy on the elder son as well as the girl's master, which is proven to be a good decision as turns out Mondo is possessed and Adono is working with demons. Later during a feast celebration, Makoto notices the two imposters standing alone. The sensei chalks the sun, and all of a sudden, the spirit frees itself from Mondo's body and drains life from him, killing the rat for associating with demons. Makoto identifies the spirit as a lich that strives to collect knowledge. Lich uses a spell that drains stats, but the main man is not only immune to it, but also can use it more powerfully, draining the lich powers and capturing it. Later, Tomoya arrives, takes the skeleton to their realm, and reveals she was the dragon who created the barrier at the Elder Village after the request of their leader many years ago. Now back home, the group questions the lich who explains he accidentally became a lich while trying to become a human that can freely travel between alternate worlds like a god, catching the attention of Makoto. However, Tomoya reveals he has it the wrong way around. Grants aren't humans who could travel, they are normal humans who accidentally traveled and so earned the title of Grant. Realizing he has wasted his entire life on an impossible goal, the lich happily accepts Tomoya's suggestion of forming a contract with Makoto and teaching him about advanced magic. Meanwhile, the adventurers decide to escape the demi-plane and steal some valuable stuff that they were already being promised only because the humans are entitled little ducks who see being handed such valuable good from demi-humans as an insult. Thus, after forming a contract that returns the lich to his young and attractive form, a magical explosion occurs in the village causing Tomoya to collapse. Makoto rushes to the explosion area where they find bodies blown away. Luckily, with the help of his muse servant, Makoto was able to heal the injured. While inspecting the area around, investigator Mako realizes the explosion forced open the portal to the outside world. Examining the memory fragments of the prostitute, Makoto sees that she and her comrades attempted to steal magical items, and when guards intervened, one of the rings full of Makoto's magic exploded, killing Tomoya's child fragment and an orc. Seeing the lack of empathy towards the innocent creatures, Makoto decides to man up and follow Queen Bee, surrounding her with mist, to the point she only can see his cold face filled with rage. He first cut that arrogant BH arms off and then kneeled for her to take a close look at his face before coldly shoving the knife in her neck in revenge. The next day, the demi-plane holds a funeral to honor the fallen souls. After it, Makoto learns from Lich, now named Shiki, he was able to see the prostitute's memories because memory viewing is one of Tomoya's powers, a sign they trust each other implicitly, though this makes Mio jealous. Anyways, not wanting this shit to be repeated, Makoto orders a wall to be constructed so that any adventurers who visit the demi-plane to trade are kept separate from the village. Soon after, Makoto visits Patrick, who has arranged Makoto's shop space in the neutral town of Rotsgard Academy. Makoto hopes to visit the academy to learn more about the world, the goddess, and humans. As he may be gone for a considerable time, he takes with him only Shiki and gives Mio and Tomoya some more memories as gifts. When they prepare to teleport, the goddess suddenly locates Makoto and tampers with his teleportation, sending him to a distant battlefield where two demon warriors attack him and sever two of his fingers. The two reveal they are Sophia Bulger and Mitsurugi, the strongest adventurer in the world and the superior dragon she became famous for supposedly killing. They explain they have joined the demon army to destroy humanity and the goddess, yet they are not interested in hearing the main man's explanation of how he got here or why he descended with the goddess's gold color, even though he claims he is not associated with her. Leaving Makoto with no choice but to fight, he first removes one ring, increasing his power level, to start blasting these ducks with a flaming arrow as well as a water arrow. The brute chick sneaks and swings her giant sword at point blank, with no way to dodge. Makoto uses his trusty little bow dagger to block the attack, causing her sword to break, shocking the chick, the little boy, and the man himself with how powerful this dwarven tech is. Now with no sword to fight, the chick pulls a dirty move, bringing the man's face to her bosom, to then take him on a ride through the air and drop him on pointy pillars, so Makoto, not taking this disrespect, lightly clears his path and removes all his mana-suppressing equipment, overwhelming all the troops on land. Furthermore, while falling, Makoto manages to teleport away, leaving the losers alive as they swear revenge if he is still alive. On the other end, Patrick receives word of the army's destruction from a powerful mage, but doesn't realize it was Makoto, as the letter says it mage was dressed in red and our boy only rocks blue drip in his day-to-day life. Back in the demi-plane, Shiki believes the goddess used Makoto to destroy the army and maybe watch them. However, what is important now is Tomoya's adorable new fragment. This cute pie is named Komoe. She was created using Makoto's mana from a discarded ring, which in a way makes her Tomoya's and Mako's daughter. Throwing Mio is furious fit, especially after Komoya calls Makoto Papa. The series ends on a high note with Makoto finally opening a shop, which is an instant success. He also learns after his teleportation incident, the demon and human armies did massive damage to each other, and that 2 other goddess-summoned heroes took part in the battle. The village throws a feast to celebrate Makoto's shop, and he decides his future looks bright. The end. If we remember right, Season 2 is in the works and is supposed to air soon. That said, let us know in the comments if you want us to cover it when it airs.